And welcome back to Couch For It. It's been a couple weeks, everyone. And as
It
always, we
has.
are consummate professionals. Valanda's definitely not over there digging a blanket out because she's cold.
I forgot how cold it was in here. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a blanket before we did the 5 minute counter. And then I'm like, I forgot my blanket. 5 seconds to go.
I love it. I love our intros because they're always just so off the cuff and magical. We are a very special group of people.
Oh yeah. So who
But
are you, Drew?
I was about to get to that.
Ah,
Damn. I'm Drew Tillman, and I am joined as always by my wonderful co-host.
I'm Valanda. Hey.
Hey, look at that. She's over there on the other side of this big, gigantic blue couch.
Yeah, we might actually have to hoover it off because it's been a good 2 and a bit weeks.
It has been. We should definitely clean the couch once in a
Yeah.
while.
Someone should like pick it up and clean underneath it and check behind the back of the pillows and stuff for loose change.
Okay, listen,
Um,
I do not, I call not it on picking up a transatlantic couch, okay?
Dib's not it.
Not it, I don't
You
want to
it
do
can
that.
stay blue.
Yeah. Uh, but
So we're on our new time slot.
yes, we are, because I got a new job. Life is great, everyone.
Yes.
It's very fancy. And as you can see, because it's October, I am wearing horns.
Yes, for the audio people amongst our podcast
They
group.
can't see it, but I'm wearing horns, trust me.
Yes, he is genuinely wearing horns. They're very cool. I have nothing festive for Halloween to hand. I will remember this for next time.
I'll remember this next time. I'm going to wear these every time we do this.
In
Unless I
October.
go buy a fucking costume, which is unlikely because they're overpriced and ridiculous. Anyway,
Anyway,
we are
moving on.
here. We're here, and we're going to talk about episode 5 of Altered Carbon.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to talk about this because I just watched it to refresh my memory. Yes.
Oh, you watched it twice?
Yeah.
Ah, I've watched it once. I finished. I think I stopped listening. I stopped watching it maybe a minute or two before I hit the Zoom link, which was about 6 minutes before we started this damn show.
You know what? That's all you need, really. You just need a couple of minutes.
Just a few minutes.
So, what are your first impressions, Yolanda?
I found this episode really interesting. Especially because some of the things that I mentioned before, like how do you know a thing, suddenly came up in this episode. Like, I've just thought about this. Oh, there's a hit thing here. I'm like, oh, cool. It has the feeling like it's trying to wrap something in this episode, but doesn't decide to do it because there's something else happening. I'm like, oh, cool. We're gonna get to the bigger story.
Oh yeah, they're finally done with their setup episodes.
Yeah.
And they're switching over to the downhill of their show.
Yeah. It's
Like not downhill in a bad way, but they're switching over to their downhill, like their wrap up phase.
Yeah. So we've gone from like this is the shiny new intro where we drop a lot of plot points and we drop a lot of open plots to now they're beginning to wrap things up. And in the wrapping up, we're going to find out more about what's actually going on with the deeper aspects of stuff. And it looks so fucking cool.
It's so good. So let's talk about the actual scenes. First scene, one of my favorites. You were staring at something. Are you okay?
There's a spider. It's not ginormous, but it was enough to like, what the fuck? I
Okay.
have a phobia of spiders.
You were looking up, and there was definitely a look of fear in your eyes, so I had to check.
Yeah, that's genuine fear. That's genuine. Fuck this. I am uncomfortable, but I will soldier on as long as it doesn't land on me or my microphone.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Because been there, done that.
Oh no, thank
Yeah.
you. So
Anyway.
first scene is it's in the thread of Altered Carbon. It's some deep voiceover, some talking about
Yes.
some things, and almost unrelated thing happening on the screen that you will eventually find out what it is. In this case, it's Mary Lou Henchy stepping off of something.
She falls backwards, right?
Yeah, she like
I'm not-
falls backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, so we see this like really slow kind of like very picturesque artistic kind of shot where like we see clouds in the sky behind her, and then it kind of zooms out a little bit and like changes angles and stuff and does weird cool things, and then we see her fall backwards and hit the water.
Yep. And during the voiceover here is Kovac saying that when everyone lies, telling the truth is a weapon.
Yes, like
And-
when
and a
everyone lies,
revolution.
telling the truth isn't just rebellion; it's a
Yeah.
weapon.
And it's
And I was like, Oh man, I
It's
love it.
and it goes from there, and it goes to Kovacs and Ortega as they're like he's basically accusing her like, what the fuck, like you knew who this body was, and you've been following me around, and he
Yeah,
kind of yells at her, and he's like, I want to know everything. So it does another cut back to Riker.
yeah. We flash back to the original owner of the body, the sleeve,
Yes, yes,
and
punching a
there's
man who's been
yeah.
tied to a chair.
It's just like I think it doesn't explain that that's what they're doing. First off, it just shows like his body just like beating the crap out of this other guy, and we're like,
Yes.
that's not that's that the mannerisms are just slightly off here. Something's not quite right. And then Ortega turns up with a gun and is like, "Don't do this, Riker." And we're like, "Oh, it's the original dude. Okay, cool." Um,
And because you find out that Riker knew Mary Lou Henchy, the girl who fell from the sky we've
yeah,
seen fall into the lake a bunch. He knew her, and he was like, why is she coded where she can't be spun back up? She would have told me about that.
yeah, because they were friends.
Childhood friends, by the way.
Childhood friends, not just friends, childhood friends.
Exactly.
It was like this wouldn't happen. It took me a while to figure out who it was. Like I was like, wait a minute, I know this isn't Kovacs because that's not quite his mannerisms. This is not him. And then like, maybe it's Ortega. Maybe she's really no. Wait, she's not friends with her. I'm like, who is this random asshole using his body? Is this is this a flash forward? And then I was like, oh no, okay, yeah. It was until she turned up. It's just me being a moron.
But yeah, you find out that this happens. Riker tells her to spin up Dimmy the twin because it's all connected. Oh, all this stuff is connected. You gotta
Yeah.
gotta talk to this guy because he knows some stuff. He knows more than he's letting on. So here you go. Have this disembodied head I've cut off, and I would now gift to you.
Oh, that was one of my favorite things. Like he's gonna know. It's just the fact he picks the. So we've gone back to present time, and like, Kovacs just picks up this head out of the ice bucket he left it in, and just threw it at her. She's like, ugh. What do I do with this?
And it's obvious. You take the stack out and do what happens in your crazy future world.
Yeah, of course. That's the natural progression of things to happen. So we go downstairs and we see. I don't remember his name.
Elliot.
Elliot. We see him getting pissy at Poe.
That's really the only description
No, you
for
can't
it.
see
Yeah.
her. I think this is the only time that he appears in this episode too. I think.
No,
No,
he appears one
he's
at a
in-
time.
Yeah.
Just once, yeah.
Yeah, it's just basically here to remind you that he's still around.
Yes.
But they basically bitch about the girl who's going through like mental help from Poe or surgery,
Yeah.
psychosurgery. He's going through that, and Poe's like, "No, fuck you! You told me I could do this, so you're not being allowed in." And they get pissy at one another. And then we see Kovacs just storm out. I'm not your friend. I'm using my leads. And then he just turns around and says, "Unless you're going to say something useful, fuck off."
Yep. He's very just like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah,
I've got this going on over here.
yeah, yeah. And we're done.
Okay.
I think we're clear.
I think so. So, fucking, what was the thing I was thinking of?
All right, so Kovacs just basically storms out being an asshole. He's like, I'm not in the mood for this. He's clearly pissed off and annoyed by the fact that Ortega has been playing him and knows things about him, because whoever is after Riker is going to be after him now because he's in his body. And then basically Ortega then comes down with the head in her hand, walks to the door, realizes she has a dismembered head in her hand, and then goes and puts it in like a really old ornate lace blanket thing. Doily, I think they call it. I don't know. And then walks out with it and poses like, "You're gonna get that clean, right?
You're gonna have a dry clean professionally."
Professionally, yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen."
Like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it cuts. Kovacs goes to the Suntouch Manor house. There we go.
Yes.
Where he is going to confront Lawrence Bancroft, and instead just finds Miriam.
Yeah, he finds
wife.
the wife. Yeah.
And they have a little bit of a chat, which the long and short of it is she says, hey, he's never going to let you go because he's a shitty human being, but you can go live on an island with nothing but me as a sex slave. So,
Sorry,
yeah.
correction, Mies as a
Yeah,
sex slave.
me's. I have a ton of clones.
Yeah, it's like she has an island that her husband doesn't know about. There's a fuck ton of her clones there, which she will
Pun intended, yes.
Nice, thank you. I didn't realize I did that. I'm way more clever than I thought. There's a metric fuck ton of clones of her, and there is she can multicast into them, which is highly illegal, obviously.
Oh, yes. But she's rich, so whatever.
Yeah, so the law doesn't apply to them. And he can go there for as long as he wants. He should just drop the case. Like, she doesn't want him to pursue it. And I very much got the feeling here that it was like so she knows who did it. She knows what's going on. She's trying to protect her children.
Yes. She's definitely...
And it's like...
And, that's pretty much that entire scene. Like, that's the important part of that scene is... She says, hey, just drop the case. You can go to this island and just, like, have sex until you die.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, I'll give you loads of money, get you re-sleeved. It's going to be great. He's a shitty human. He's never going to let you go. So she appeals to, like, the wants and needs of him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, if you do that, then everything will be fine. I don't want to tell you the real reason I don't want you to do this. I'm making it seem like it's a big favor to do this. Like, I'm gonna let you just because I'm a good person. No, it's not. And she's also blatantly clear about the fact that she's doing this because she loves her family, because her husband keeps her children as children, and it's not fair.
It's really not.
So yeah, it's blatantly obvious at this point, at least to me, that she knows what's going on.
Definitely. You also find out in this scene that Bancroft is in the old city. Which doesn't mean anything at the moment, but that's where he's at. That's why he's not at home. And it cuts from that scene to Ortega dumping Demi the Twin's head down a drain.
Yes. Like, they go to this, like, scummy this, like, scummy, like, back alley place, and she's got uncovered a drain, and she's ripped, like, the stack out the back of his head, and then she, like, pushes his head down into the drain or drops it in there. And am I wrong, but is that the subway?
It's probably, like, an old subway system, yeah.
Yeah, because like if it's a sewage drain or whatever, that's way too big.
Oh yeah,
actually, it may not be. No, that can be pretty fucking huge.
It also depends if it's meant to like control like flood runoff and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's raining because it's always raining.
It does rain a lot. There's something about Future Things that has like a lot of rain all the time. I don't know what that is, but
no clue whatsoever. It makes it look dark and dingy. Dingy. So that's the thing. But yeah, to me, I very much got the feeling that this was supposed to be like some infrastructure that's not supposed to be a sewer. Like,
I kind of got that feeling as well. That it was something else that just became a sewer.
Yeah, there's something old world built over. This is the feeling. I thought it was cool. It's just a cool little side thing.
I agree.
That was just rad.
And then she calls the guy we met. I think it was the episode before, the basically the police tech man.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, I need you to do this other thing off the books.
And he's like, really? She's like, yeah. And you get the feeling he's gonna do it.
Yeah, right. He's just like, oh. And it cuts from there. I think it cuts back to Kovacs there.
It bounces between these two.
Yeah, this episode is very heavy Kovac Ortega, which
it's definitely their relationship.
Yes.
And the weirdness of that relationship being that he is controlling the body of the man that she was, I assume, gonna marry. I don't really know if I picked that up correctly or not. But they were at least living together in the same apartment.
They were at least involved. I don't know if they were going to get married, but they were definitely involved with each other.
They were fuck buddies for sure.
Yeah, definitely that. So then it cuts back to Kovac, and he's walking into the old city, where you find out that I was doing something, so I think I only caught like parts of this too. Basically, a chemical bomb went off here, and all the people who were in the area carry it, but they're not being killed by it yet.
Yeah, so like it was a remnants of a chemical or either a chemical or a virus type thing.
Yeah, some sort of bioweapon.
Yeah, and the people here are descendants of them.
Mm-hmm. Of the people who made them.
Yeah, and they basically, well, essentially, let's call it, they carry the plague, but they aren't affected by it. They're carriers, not they can't be affected by it. So Bancroft goes around like touching the people, and as Kovac walks in there, they're like, don't touch anyone, you'll get infected. And like seeing him like touch these people and hug them is like, what the fuck?
And
What the
then you
fuck are
see
you doing?
he's getting sick. Like you start seeing like these like black veins spreading across his face, and
Yeah.
but he's like shaking hands and hugging people and giving kids candy and giving out gifts. And there's
Yeah.
I actually love this dialogue between him and Kovac here, where Kovac is like, "This is just a display of your power. Like you just want people to remember you as somebody who's like, you want these people to think of you as a god."
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh no, real power is hidden," and blah blah blah. And it's like, it's a neat little dialogue between Kovac and Bancroft discussing whether or not this is a display of power or a display of, humanity. But I'm not sure
Yeah.
Bancroft actually knows what humanity really is.
Clearly not at this point. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to make the
been too
judgment
long.
call. Clearly not.
Yeah.
Bit of a dick at this point. I'm going to call that there. Yeah, it's really interesting. I like the way that this I like the way this scene looks.
Yeah.
Like all the people's skins are covered in like grime and grunge, or like obvious displays that they have been affected in some way. They have like blackened veins across their faces. There are a lot of children, a lot of adults here. So when something new is introduced into the environment, like he hands out a box and there's like toys in it.
Yeah.
And they're so different in contrast to the rest of the way that this scene looks. They really stand out. Like, this is a fluffy new bear. Clearly does not belong in like the makeup of this scene. It just doesn't look right because it's supposed to look different.
Exactly.
And it's incredible. Like even Bancroft himself blends in. Like he, when we first see him, he's got like he's wearing whatever it is he's wearing, but the colors are very similar. But it's clean, and you can see it's clean. And by the time he's gone through his transformation of having experienced this plague and then like basically dying with it, because the makeup on that is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He looks exactly the same as everyone else, and it's like, oh wow, that's really interesting. It's a very interesting like setup. He's trying to blend into the rest of the people around here, but it's not quite right because then he dies.
Yep, he just dies. No big
And
deal.
then no biggie, he just cast out, and all the people are like, woo! Oh man, that's wow.
Yeah, they're so sad.
No, don't do this.
It's yeah, you get the look of Kovac who's just like staring at him, and he's just like, this guy's a real asshole.
Yeah, I love that kind of like he really is talking out of his ass. Because he discussed with Bancroft at a point like, why did you bring me back in this body? Was it just to fuck with her? What you just did is seriously petty and childish, my man.
It's like, it's real childish for someone as old as you. And he's like, nah, what do you know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I know what being a childish asshole is.
Yeah, that's what he's displaying. I like that scene just for so many reasons. It looked really good, and that little—I think it's the only time they have like banter in this episode between the two of them. It was just really well written. Just it didn't feel like forced, but there were so many like little things, little acting things it did. Like Kovacs at the end of that scene, just like, what an asshole. You just see it, just like barely a change of expressions. Like, yeah, what an asshole.
Very,
just like he
very
doesn't
judgy.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, nah.
Oh, I love it.
Very cool.
I think it cuts from there, I'm pretty sure, to Kovac walking through the ever-present rain. That's why it would not rain. Back into the Raven Hotel.
Yep.
Where he runs into Elliot drinking at the bar, stealing alcohol from the bar, by the way.
I think it's great.
And Kovac is like, hey, you're stealing this. And he's just like, oh yeah, are you see any cops around? Which, of course, is the cue for Ortega's partner to be like,
yeah, excuse me, sirs. Is this a bad time? And I love the way that Elliot just picks up the booze and like, nope, not a problem.
just walks up.
Just leaves. It's real good.
He's like, this doesn't concern me. I'm just going to go now.
Yeah. It's like, this is not a big deal. It's fine. And essentially, the mentor of Ortega goes, don't be a dick to her. She clearly cares about your body because it was her ex-boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't hurt her. I will kill you. End scene.
Yeah, which I do like that scene as well, because Kovac's like, oh, you think you can kill me? And he's like, yes.
Yes.
It's
just
like real
such
confident.
confidence, yeah. Like,
yeah, I'll kill you, man.
Like, I don't know whether I want to believe it to be true, but the other part of me is like, there's no fucking way he's going to kill him. There's no way he can do it.
But here's the thing. I think this man is smart enough that if he was going to kill an envoy, he would just kill him from a distance or something. Like,
yeah.
He wouldn't try to fight him. He'd be like, well, I'm just going to, like, shoot him from far enough away that he can't stop me.
Like, I will find a way. Like he's going to do this clearly very smartly. That's clearly the way he's planning on doing it.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like in a hand to hand, he's just going to die. It's not going to be good. I don't want to see this.
Oh, we actually did miss a neat little banter thing between Bancroft and Kovac in the last scene.
Oh yeah.
In that Bancroft is saying that the most important or impressive gods, because Kovac says, why wouldn't you sleeve yourself in somebody younger? And or Bancroft is like, oh yeah, young men see themselves as fighting and fucking machines, but at this age, the age that my sleeve is, a man gets respect because Odin, Zeus, Titan, like not Titan, Atlas, like these are all older men. These are warriors who've been through battle and come out over and over and over again. Yeah. People like respect them. They see them as like teachers because of how their experience. Yeah. And it's kind of this little. It's kind of an interesting little thing of being like how Bancroft sees himself clearly as this figure who's been through battles and has wisdom, whereas Kovac actually is somebody who's been through that and doesn't see himself that way and doesn't actually feel that way. And no one sees him as that either. They just see him as a monster. No.
Like, it's an interesting expression he uses, which is the Colossus thing. Mm-hmm. Like, when you think of Colossus, it's something that lasts, it's something that lives, it's something that continues going on, something that clearly has a power born through experience. Something that just has power, something that is godly. And young men don't hold that same level as a Colossus does. Is a flash in the pan. Like, every man is a fighting fucking machine, so they want to believe. Whether you think that's your case, whatever, I'm not going to judge. But however, like, older men don't get that. They get the respect that he's looking for, and it's the word that he uses, Colossus, not just God. It's just something that goes with it. It's not something you should bow down and just do because they are gods. It's like, no, Colossus comes from something. It means that there is a something there behind it. There's power and respect and some other bullshit there.
It's a very neat scene. It's a very like interesting conversation bit that we glossed over, and I wanted to go back and talk about it.
No, that's a good callback because I had forgotten that until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, Colossus, that was so good. I had a comment for that.
Let's see. After the chat with the Ortega's partner, which by the way, finally remember his name. It's Aboud.
Yes.
Which I have a comment about that later. Not the name itself. Anyway, after that, I think it cuts to just a random coffee shop somewhere in the rain. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing a scene there.
Oh no, you're correct. Yeah, it's a random cut to
just like a cop at a coffee shop, right?
Yeah. So we see. Oh my god, we actually see someone we're supposed to know.
No. Sorry. I think it cuts to Ortega handing off the stack first, and then it cuts to the rain. Yeah.
The stack handing over is literally her going in, where the fuck is the coffee? Take this.
No, it's the other way. It's the cop first because you see
Oh, you see him in
so
that's gonna mean a thing.
Yeah, you there's a random cop at a coffee shop and he's like he orders a coffee and some guy comes up, which is the guy that is the Ghost Walker, which we established in the last episode when Ortega saw him for a second.
Yes.
Comes up, pays for his coffee. They have a little chat. As always, this is honestly one of my least favorite tropes, is the assassin who's like weirdly obsessed with faith.
The religious nut.
Yeah, it's one of my least favorite tropes.
It's I say it's definitely a trope. It can be interesting, but in this situation, I'm not sure why it's a thing.
I don't either, honestly.
I'm interested to see how it can and will become a thing. But at the moment, it just seems like, what do we do with this guy? I'm making religious nuts. Go for it. Go.
Yay.
Yeah, so he talks to Officer Levine.
Mm-hmm. Some guy named Officer Levine.
Officer Levine.
Sees he has a ring on and brings it up.
with a religious symbol on it. Yeah. And he's like, hey, you're a true believer. And then he's like, oh, well, if you want to know a thing. And then it cuts.
Yeah, it just cuts. But it cuts to the police precinct where Ortega comes in, and you actually see the name badge Levine, like as the camera pans. And then she's like, "Where's the coffee? Do this, blah blah." She's walking around being Ortega, which is she's like telling people what to do. hands the stack off to the tech, who I want to say his name is Mikey. Michael.
I think it definitely begins with an M.
We are
I
real
just
good at
remember him
remembering
as
names.
Warren from Buffy, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He will forever be Warren for Buffy for me. I
That's,
can't.
you know,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fair because there's another character in here who is always going to be another another character to me.
Yes, yes,
Um,
indeed.
so
All right.
she's like, I need him spun up in virtual, and the guy's like, oh, you don't want this logged, right? She's like, no, don't log it. And he tells her, I can't do that. If I spin him in virtual, I have to log it. The only way to not log it is put him in a sleeve.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, do that. And he's like, you want to put a counter agent, personality fragged assassin terrorist in a body? And she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, be okay. Do it. So she then drinks the coffee, which is cold, and then fucks off.
Yeah, then she leaves. And it cuts away from here. Like, that's the end of that scene.
Yep.
I actually, what does it cut to next? Because I think I want.
There's so much. I don't know. It doesn't. I'm not going to say the word is disjointed, but there's so many random little scenes that lead to like where I see like the end thread is.
Yeah, I think it cuts back to Kovac, but I don't remember the scene because in my head I kind of I'm like, okay, yeah, he gets this information from somewhere, but I don't remember where it's from.
Yeah. Well, so like I don't again. I'm gonna say disjointed. I even think we got the officer with the coffee and then the Ortega thing. I think that actually sandwiches the press the thing where he goes into the slum camp place. I think it's the coffee, the slum camp, and then the place afterwards. I'm pretty sure it's that. It's all over.
It is because it's a lot of little scenes that lead up to the second half of this episode.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's like it's not difficult to follow, but it's difficult to re-explain. It's like also, at the time, it's like it makes sense.
Yes,
it makes sense.
It's difficult to recall because it's a lot of like, here's a scene, little like a minute
little
or two.
Dumps.
Here's a scene, a little bit more. Here's a scene, and they don't always like flow together very very well. But like they don't feel bad. It doesn't feel like why did we jump here?
Yeah.
It's just
like
it's
watching it doesn't feel disjointed. It goes from like Ortega to Kovac, and then backwards and forwards.
Yes.
But some of the things we get from are so small. It's hard to like recall exactly the order. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It felt really natural.
It did. It's
but
very
recalling it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's very well done. But yeah, recalling it for a recording is very annoying. All right, so I'm gonna at some point in here in this little stream, Kovac talks to somebody who tells him a bit of information about how Isaac has been selling art. And he has a house somewhere that no one else, that his family doesn't, or his dad doesn't know about. Because then...
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, because somewhere in that point, because then it cuts to Ortega in the shower, which I also just want to say, I want to give her makeup props because she's standing there in the shower and her mascara and eyeliner are not running even the slightest.
Oh, yeah, like major props. Like,
all right, that's some good makeup.
We don't call out makeup often enough because it's like quite often when you look at people, and I do have to shout out and call it out because it's terrible of me, but you often see, especially on women, you see the makeup, you can just see it, you can tell it's been like overdone because it's for camera. Not a lot of people are happy with showing their pores because it's not standard classic.
Well, also it's weird to see your woman's pores, but like you get that with a camera because the camera's this close to your face.
Exactly,
and you would see those pores, but you as a person are rarely going to be that close to somebody.
Yeah, and if I'm that close to them, I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah.
So,
the pores are not the important part.
Yeah, that's not the thing I'm thinking about. Quite often, no, I'm going to stop here. But yeah, the makeup in this is really good. You can barely ever tell they're actually wearing makeup, at all. It's
like you can definitely see her mascara and her eyeliner in the scene, and it's not running from the water, which is. I mean, she has some real high quality mascara and eyeliner, which is great because in the first scene with Mary Lou Henchy, her mascara and eyeliner are running down her face.
It's clearly stage mascara because at some point, like it's plot mascara.
Yes.
Okay. Mascara will run exactly when the plot demands it to. Yes.
Anyway.
So her brand, plot mascara, top notch. We'll have more of that, please.
It's real good.
So yeah, she's having a shower, and she's thinking about stuff. We assume.
I assume.
And then we hear Kovacs.
No, we hear her mom yelling. and then
Yes.
a gunshot, and Kovac saying something.
Like, whoa, calm down or some bullshit.
She runs
And
out
I
and her
mean,
mom's got a shotgun pointed at Kovac.
that is honestly the best thing. Like, she holds this shotgun like she knows what she's doing with it. Like, this may not be the first boyfriend she's had to push away.
Oh, Bucky's on. Okay. I thought someone was knocking on my door, and I was like, what is going on?
What? No, wait, stop. Yeah, she holds this gun like she knows she's had to fend off like boyfriends or like people breaking in or something like that. And she basically turns around and said that he's an unholy abomination or some such jazz. And then like we see Ortega who's just like this bathroom wrapped around her. Again, props to whoever the hell put that on her because holy shit, that did not move.
No.
At all. And she takes the gun away from her mum, and her mum starts to like passive aggressively, violently cut up these like carrots for dinner, clearly staring at him like. Bah, 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 bah.
I kind of wanted Kovac to be like, you should really watch what you're doing there before you cut your fucking finger off.
Her mum does not look at the vegetables at all.
No,
She's
and like
violently going for them.
that kind of made me nervous. I was like, she's gonna cut her hand off or something.
Yeah.
But Kovac tells Ortega that he has a lead. The fight drome has recorded footage of Bancroft the night he died, and she's like, okay, the fight drome doesn't record things. That's like its whole deal. It doesn't do it. And he's like, yeah, well, just, and he like smarms at her for a minute. Like that's the only description I have of it. He smarms at her. And then
it's like ask no questions, tell no lies.
Yeah, and then I guess she's just like, all right, fine, because it cuts to the fight drone. Like,
yeah,
it's just like, okay.
he finds this information out from Poe. Poe just basically says, okay, I actually have something useful for you now. And one of my favorite things in this is that he gives the name of the AI who runs that establishment or something along those lines. And one of my favorite lines is like, please tell me this ice age. And it says, the fight drome has recordings.
Yes.
So yeah, they go to the fight drome and they meet this guy with bright like purplish reddish hair, I think.
That's just standing straight up.
Yep. And he is one of those, hey, it's that guy.
He is forever in my head. He is forever. I can't think of his name in the show, but he's the Australian dude from Eureka. In my head.
Oh,
that's
right,
who
yeah.
He is. It doesn't matter where I see him, that's who he always is.
To me, he will always be Pestilence from Supernatural.
He was Pestilence. Yeah.
He was so good.
He was a very good Pestilence, yes.
Yeah, he was in another show I watched as well recently, and I'm like, oh, I like that guy. Oh, he's in...
Trust me. Go watch...
He's in so many things!
Go watch Eureka and tell me that he will not be forever cemented as the very cheerful, like, biologist Australian dude.
He can do like strange, overly cheerful and yet sinister. Because he does it with Pestilence, he does it with Orphan Black. He's done it in Eureka because I have seen it. Oh my god, he's so good at that kind of character. And again, he's that kind of awkward, yet kind of funny, yet kind of creepy as fuck guy. There's something about his build. I don't rude to him, but he looks like death. He genuinely looks like death.
He does. He's like really skinny, like gangly. I don't know. He looks like death. You're right.
He's amazing. And I don't say it in the way of like, oh my god, it looks like death. It's terrible. No, it looks fucking good. Like, holy shit, man.
I mean, for the characters he plays, it's spot on.
Yeah. It's just good. I love this guy. I don't know what his name is, but I love this guy.
I don't either. I need to find his name. But they basically harass him, and they're like, hey, we know you have recordings, and blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, all right, fine. I'll show you the recordings. Follow me. They walk past a bunch of cryo sleep clones. And then Kovac stops and looks at one because it's his body.
Him.
Yeah. Because this dude paid a bunch of money to illegally clone Takeshi Kovac based on DNA they found on the world where he died.
Yeah. So at this point, he's pretending to be Riker. He's not saying anything. He's letting Ortega take the lead because he's pretending he's not saying anything. He's just looking mean and angry because he can do that.
He's very good at it.
Greatest lines. So this is where it hits like a point for me. Like, so the guy says, "Come back on a Friday. We'll give you a private viewing. You can watch people like bloodlet with this thing, and it will be perfect." And for me, it's he has his old body there, does he?
Uh-huh.
So that's a blank body right there, is it?
Right there, just sitting there.
And he's in a body which belongs to someone else, does it? This looks like a plot point frozen in time.
You know, if this were a game, there would be a golden exclamation point above this body.
Yeah. No, it'll be one of those ghost ones that means you can't get it yet.
Oh yeah, it's just like I can do something with this later. I don't.
Oh, you know, like Crash Bandicoot. If you haven't got a thing yet, you can't get on the special access level. You have to go do a thing first.
Yeah, there you go.
And this what this feels like. Like he can't get his body. He can't get access to this like little like drawn line thing until he's completed other parts of the quest to come back here and do this.
It's gonna happen. He's gonna get in that body. Oh,
he's gonna get in that body, man. Of course he is. Come on.
And they move on from this and they go into this dude's office.
Oh my god.
He plays a fucking VHS tape for these people.
And his phrase is, "Oh, I use this. It's not old school. It's preschool.
And thus
it means
unhackable.
It can't be hacked." Yes, which is perfect.
It's so good.
It's amazing. Like I'm glad they threw that kind of little referencey to real world in there. I was like, this is not hackable because it's not connected to anything. I don't know how your data rats got this.
Exactly. It's real good.
What? Yeah.
But they watch this video of Isaac, Bancroft's son, watching a fight, and then Bancroft comes out of nowhere and just starts beating this kid, like mercilessly beating him.
Yeah, it's just wailing on his son Isaac. And they leave because the dude's like, nobody gets this from me for free and still live. But
so get the fuck out, leave.
And then Kovac's like, yeah, I can read lips. And he was saying, you'll never be me. And I was like, this is rapping quick, is it?
Okay, first of all, I want to stop for a second because the way Kovac says, I can read lips, is almost like in an RPG when you're playing and the character's like, oh, I have a brownie point. I don't know what to spend it on. We're kind of stuck. I can read lips now. Just like, all right, fuck it.
It's the level up you haven't spent yet.
It's like, I can read lips now.
I was holding it over for the right moment.
And now I know. I know I needed to read lips. That's the perfect moment.
Yep.
But it's really good because they have this conversation about how Bancroft is saying, you're not me, you'll never be me, blah, 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 blah. And they talk about that for a few minutes. And then it cuts to the police car landing outside of a house. Because it flies. Everything flies.
Mm-hmm. Of course it does, yeah.
Yeah. And they walk up because it's Isaac's house, the house that at some point Kovac learned about. And then it's locked, and Ortega's like, "Oh, we can get a warrant, or we can do this."
And he just pulls out his gun and fires the lock.
And she's like, "Oh, I guess we'll Kovac it." Okay.
Yeah. This is where things are interesting. Have people never heard of magnetic locks? Like he just shoots somewhere randomly, basically on this door where we'd expect a handle to be. Like, why would that make the door open? Surely with like these futuristic technologies and stuff they have, if they detect that something has been shot at the lock, it would just keep the lock locked.
Well, here's the thing, Belanda. It's called a plot bullet.
Oh, okay. So it was a lock made by Plot.
Mm-hmm. And a bullet made by Plot.
It was a plot made by Lock. They also make mascara.
Yes.
They're multi-branching.
They have a lot of things going on. But yeah, he shoots the lock, and it's great, because then they walk into this house, and it's full of art, and basically nothing else. It's kind of creepy. Yeah,
there's nothing else here, except when they walk to, like, I think it's the other side of the room or something.
They go behind a beaded curtain into the bedroom.
Oh, that's what it is?
It's a beaded curtain, yeah.
Oh, okay, then yeah, it would be. And she overrides the security protocols and turns off the alarm because they'd only call the cops and she's a cop.
She's the cop. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I got this handled.
Yep.
I feel like police paperwork is not really much of a thing in the future.
Okay, well that's like a big thing. Whenever there's police in something, they kind of move past the paperwork, which is why in Hot Fuzz it's a big deal. The paperwork's a big deal, and they have so many scenes of it because they're like, oh, no one ever does the paperwork.
No one tells me nothing.
Ain't no one tells me nothing.
Sorry. Anyway, so they go into the bedroom, and she overcomes some of the protocols, and they get to show this footage. Mm-hmm. And it's and it's a Bancroft. And he's meeting with people and talking to people, and they're like, why would he have this? And then Kovac suddenly goes, how do I know it's you in there? I'm like, finally, someone gets the gist.
Yes.
Someone gets what I thought from the start. And I don't, even now, I'm not sure that Bancroft is in Bancroft's body. I'm
It's
gonna be out there on this.
it's good because they talk about that, and then Ortega, which this again, this is like just plot because he's like, "How do I know you're you?" Blah blah blah. Talking about it, and she just doesn't respond. She just walks to a door and is like, "No, this door's locked." Like, you didn't. You're in the middle of a conversation. You understand how talking works.
Yeah, like she doesn't respond to his question. Like I think she does like a little flicker of like, huh. Well, maybe I should have a look around.
I think so, but it's just
that's it. Like she doesn't answer him, and we don't get the answer to that as the audience. Like I don't know how they know it's them, and it's a question I've had from the start.
Yep.
Why would nobody answer my question?
But she finds a locked door. Then she looks at Kovac and is like, she like gives him a questioning look, and he's like, I don't care what you do. So she kicks it open, and inside they find a 3D bio printer. And she's like, oh, these are super illegal. Ooh, you can't have these things.
Yep.
And then they find a sleeve that has nobody in it, and it's Bancroft.
Bancroft.
Because as we established outside this room, Isaac took his father's body. No, wait. They do it in here. Isaac took his father's body because Bancroft, the night that he was killed, came back from Osaka, and Kovac is like, oh, it wasn't Bancroft, it was Isaac, because, I mean, he worked with the Japanese for months, and then he closed the deal in 48 hours? That seems really weird.
Yeah.
And it's because Isaac took his body and closed the deal, and then Ortega calls in the cops, and she's like, oh, I need pickup for an unlicensed sleeve, and might as well get the printer, and blah, blah, blah. And then it cuts to...
basically a bunch of cops taking a bunch of this shit out.
A bunch of cops taking shit, and Kovac is bleeding.
We see Kovac, like, standing there, manly, like, looking pensive over something. Like, I think we're supposed to get the feeling that in his head something doesn't add up, because up to this point, this episode feels very, here's a clue, on to the next clue, here's a clue. There's no real subterfuge here. There's no real plot twist here. Like, everything was leading to this, and it was very clear cut. And I think this series is a little too clever just to lay it out like a ham sandwich. It's not gonna. This is not how it is. There's something clearly at play here, and it just feels too clean. So he's standing there looking pensive, and I think he's putting together some of the pieces of like, this isn't right. This isn't right. This is too clean. There's something not right about this. And then we basically see blood is dripping from his hand, and Ortega's like, no, I need to fuck you too hard. We need to go now.
Yep. She takes him back to her place, which the outside, I want to point out, the outside of her place has, someone has like painted on the windows, like it was clearly a shop, and it says UNT Butcher. And my mind was in the gutter, and I laughed so hard. I was like, oh my God, really?
Interesting.
I laughed like a fucking school child.
I completely missed it, but if I had seen that, I would have laughed at that too.
I was like, I don't know if that's unfortunate or if that is like set design being like,
come on, it's gotta be purposeful, right? I mean, come on, like everything in this clearly has a reason and a purpose. Like, these things aren't accidental. It's clearly someone having a laugh somewhere.
Yeah, so, but then he comes inside, and she gets Kovac to take off his clothes so she can stitch him up. And there's that fucking trope of the woman tending to the man's wounds, and then they fuck.
Yeah, that literally happens here. They even do like the explain your scars thing, but in reverse, because it's different in this show. This thing was the only thing that felt like, oh no, come on, don't do this to me. Right. I mean, yes, I've been screaming that these two should get a room, but now I understand the tension in it. I'm like, come on, no, it's just because he's in his body. Like, it's animating.
Yeah, so we get it literally cuts from the woman nursing the man back to health to just fuck.
Butt fucking naked.
Butt fucking naked. And I will say both of them can get it. But moving on from that, it's a really long sex scene, like awkwardly long.
It's because it's supposed to show, I think, emotion. But it's just odd because I don't think he has that for her, really.
I don't think he has emotion anyway, because his face throughout this entire show is sort of...
But but he does it. He expresses himself in a very different way. It's not like all completely facial.
Yeah.
But on this, is like, yeah, I think he's supposed to be in it a little bit, but that's not.
Oh, he's in
I
it a
don't.
lot of it.
Well, he's in it all the way, clearly, but she seems like emotionally involved in it, and he doesn't. Let's go with that. And yeah, they're both completely fucking naked. And like, all right, that, yep, fair enough. The longer it's supposed to go on, the more pleasurable, the happier they are. You know.
Anyway,
Right,
it cuts to the next morning.
Let's please not.
We're just gonna go to the next morning because she gets out of bed, walks over to a place, gets something out of a box, walks back over, wakes him up, and is like, "Hey," and hands him a stack. And then she explains the whole thing. She lays it all out. Mary Lou Henchy, how she died, all this other stuff. The Ghost Walker, like, she tells him everything.
Yeah. Yeah, because fucking then leads to explaining everything ever.
Yes. And she needs somebody to back her up as she interviews Demi the Twin, and it's just like standard classic bullshit of, hey, we just had sex, let me tell you everything that I'm planning and all of my deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, it's a symbolism for we've reached a state where we totally and utterly trust one another because, you know, the sex here is all about love and not just fucking. It's that. I mean, dumb. I'm glad they had the sex scene before with the wife because that clearly meant nothing to either of them, and that was supposed to be that feeling with me. But
yeah,
it's just this one scene that really, as I say, bugs me.
I will also say it's interesting because the sex scene in the beginning with Kovac is shot all very tight angles, like pretty much just faces. The sex scene with Miriam is all wide angles and far away, and the sex scene with Ortega is sort of in the middle.
Yes,
which is like an interesting way to use the camera to be like just showing different things, like different emotional states, different
levels of intimacy.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea, but gonna brush past that now because they go to the police precinct to interview Demi the Twin, who is spun up in that fucking neo-Nazi motherfucker body. Who
props to that actor, man. Fucking
so good. He's played 3 different people so far, and it's great.
So good. Yeah, like I picked up him being Demi, like the way he was, the way he acted. He did it so well. Like this guy may be the most underrated actor in the entire show because holy fuckballs.
Yeah, these actors are all very good because different people are in their sleeves, like they have like different mannerisms to act out.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting thing of like keeping all of that straight. And this dude, he displays 3 different people. It's great.
3 different people.
Yeah.
Rocks at it. So yeah, anyway. So back to this neo-Nazi guy. So Demi basically goes on Ortega tries to question him like, who set up Riker? What's going on? Just tell me who it was that set Riker up to make it look like he killed this CTAC agent. Just tell me everything. And Demi the Twin's like, nah, just man.
Leave her on. He's just fucking with her. And
yeah, he's like, nah, fuck you. And then her boss busts in.
Yep, her boss busts in and it's like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? This is bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. And they drag him away, and she's chasing him. He's like, no, you give me a couple more minutes. He's like, he set up Riker. I know this is something, blah, 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 blah. And the boss is like, get the envoy out of here. And Abud's like, I told you to stay away from her, blah, blah, blah. He's, cowboying it over here.
Being protective, yes.
Yeah. So, Ortega and Demi the Twin and Abud get in the elevator with another officer who, as he turns, he looks up, and Ortega sees him, and then there's a flashback because, oh my god, it's the Ghost Walker, and he's in the elevator. And he's like, oh, Ortega, but the elevator's already closed because apparently, for the first time in this entire show, Kovac had like, I don't know, a dumb moment and he couldn't say anything for like 3 seconds because elevator doors don't close that fast.
Maybe these are super fast elevators.
Maybe.
It's like, it's not wasting this bullshit time. You must see elevator, fuck you, man.
They are dangerous elevator doors.
They're like, we will slice you in half, motherfucker. No, I think, he just has that moment. Maybe it's because they fucked. Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe. But he takes off running downstairs and proceeds with... One of my favorite things in action movies are elevator fight scenes because they're always like choreographed really interestingly.
Yeah.
So this dude, the Ghost Walker, is like, are you a believer? Because again, he's a fucking religious nut. Stupid trope, whatever. And he pulls out this insane looking weapon
Oh my god, it's brutal.
It's so brutal. Spins around and like attacks Ortega with it, and it's taking like chunks of her out, like
All right.
literally.
Not only like when I first saw the chunk of flesh that had been pulled out of her body, I'm like, wait, is that like some sort of fucking like parasite thing? Because it's basically a starfish. And oh no, it cuts back to her, and you can see this like mini pointed star thing that's been cut into her chest or into her shoulders, shall I
Yeah.
say? And it's just pooling with blood. I'm like, oh my god, that's just a chunk of like starflake flesh. That's amazing and
It's
gross.
so brutal, and he gets Ortega 3 times with this
Yeah.
thing. She pulls her gun and fires it a bunch of times. Abood starts fighting Dimmy the twin, and like they're all kind of fighting each other. Kovacs is running downstairs.
It's a mess. It's a fucking mess.
It's a real
The fight
fucking mess.
scene inside, like, unlike most fight scenes in a contained space, I often find it very difficult to follow exactly who's hitting who and why they're hitting her and how things. This was really clear. Like, there was no weird flashing going on. Like, we're going to put you in a distress scene where, like, the lights are flash. No, it was very clear. It was very clear that the Ghost Walker and Ortega were fighting. It's very clear that Abood and Dimmy the twin were fighting, and how they were fighting. The fighting styles were different. Like between Ortega and the Ghost Walker, it was like long punches and throwing in with a random ass weapon and lots of jumping. The other two were just beating the snot out of each other. It's like you could see definitely there were two very different styles, and it's easy to follow what was going on and who was getting hit at what point. I often find it very difficult to follow this, but this was perfect. It was great. And brutal and visceral and amazing.
Ortega is losing blood and she's getting weaker. Abood is fighting this Dimmy the twin, and he eventually gets like his fucking brain case knocked in because Dimmy the twin picks him up and slams him into the ceiling, like his head. And he just kind of goes down. Ortega's like losing blood and then gets really weak and is laying on the floor. And the Ghost Walker
starts doing the do you believe your starts basically I think praying over her.
Pretty much
and
gives her
Demi's
last
like,
rites.
You're gonna do this. He does like the smart things like, you're gonna do this in a police precinct. Are you nuts? And the bloke basically continues. And he pulls out his gun and he aims it at Ortega, and then we cut to Abood. And you can just see the calculation of like, oh no. And Abood basically jumps in front of the shot that is meant for Ortega.
And we see in the stack.
Yes, because we see this amazing bit on. He gets shot in the back of the neck as he's diving towards Ortega, but we see the explosion of, or so we see the shattering of the stack through the front of his throat. It's amazing.
It's really good.
And it's brutal because at this point we know exactly what a stack is and what that means.
And also my comment about it was, I like that I remember his name finally, just for the episode where he dies. So
yes,
I'm such a good person.
It reminds me of very much reminds me of like the cruelest thing that they did on Buffy, which was give Tara her own credit in the beginning of the episode and then kill her.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so brutal and amazing. I love it. But yes, you're right here. So yeah, he jumps in front of her, and then the Ghost Walker
goes for Abood's gun, but Dimmy the Twins is like, nope, let's go.
Yeah. He tries to shoot Ortega with his own gun.
Yeah,
but there's conveniently plot no bullets in there.
There's no oh no, it's Ortega's gun, which she had been firing throughout this whole fight scene and not hitting anybody. It was her last round killed Abood, so he went for Abood's gun. Dimmy the Twins is like, no, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Which they were in the basement. Kovacs gets to the elevator in the basement, but it's going back upstairs, so he runs back to the lobby, and the door opens on this just blood-filled elevator.
Yeah, it's brutal. And she is basically like, reaching out for her dead partner whilst bleeding to death, and Kovacs is like, fuck this, picks her up, and then just leaves with her.
And she's the whole time like saying like, oh, help Abood. Like, she's not worried about herself at all. She's only worried about her partner.
Yeah, which I think she clearly knows is dead, but it's that panic moment of like, this can't be. She's in denial, just massively. Exactly. He can't be dead. This isn't. I can't deal with this. Yeah. And basically, Kovacs just picks her up and walks out with her. Yep. And I believe that's the
it.
Last.
Like, it literally, he runs out of the precinct, and that's like the last scene. It cuts to the end.
Yep. And the very last shot is the weird kind of like dragon tattoo that he has on his arm.
Mm-hmm. It made out of like that firefly light or whatever.
Yeah, the firefly light. It's cool. I call it out because it's fucking cool.
It is. Such a good episode. They're literally going on like this was the top of the roller coaster hill basically, and now it's just going to be a fucking ride, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I very much felt like this. Yeah, like it's supposed to be answering questions, and it has some, but it again. I just get that it's too clean, and like if I step away from the meta of knowing that this is halfway through the series, sorry, not even quite half. The end of this is halfway through the series. I know there's another 5 episodes to go. It feels like very much like this is too clean, and there is something bigger going on. I can't wait to see what it is. And the fact that we now have this, is she going to die? Isn't she going to die? She's clearly bleeding to death. Someone has actually died, and the one that actually probably could have killed Kovacs because he's dedicated enough to fucking do it. Seeing him actually die was like, oh my god, that's holy shit, that's brutal. That's the way that happened was good. I like it. It's holy shit. And there is so much like background stuff that's now built in. I feel like we know more about Riker and who the fuck he is and how that's affecting what's going on. The fact we have the wife who clearly knows what happened and wants to protect her family, and she'll do it anyway she has to. That the kids are involved somehow, and I do say kids plural because I don't think it's just one. They're all working together, probably. I don't know. Actually.
We'll see.
That's my assumption. All the kids. We'll find out. And then we have like the big plot point in cryostasis, which is his body. There's so much going on.
There is so much.
So much going on. And there are so many themes in this episode that just like, it's not as heavy as the episode before with all the God stuff going on, but holy shit, this is going to be good. And yeah, I'm waiting to see what the drop after, what's going to happen to her, whether she's going to get re-sleeved or if they're going to, what's the other thing they do? Upgrades?
Yeah.
Upgrade bodies?
Yep.
I'm looking for I assume that he's just going to put in a Bancross tab. That's my assumption.
I'm not going to say anything. But oh my god, this was a good episode. So let's go into our ending stuff because we've hit an hour basically.
Holy shit, have we?
We have.
Oh my god, we have as well.
Valanda, how would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna rate it a 4. It was a good episode, man. I can't wait to see. I feel this very much feels like it's a leading to something episode. This definitely feels like it's a 2-parter. Like there's the second half of this episode, and I can't wait to get to that. But I like this episode very much. Everything looked amazing. The script writing was good, and I only give it the 4 because of that fucking bizarre love scene thing. And like, I hated that.
It was a really weird scene. Yeah.
Like, it's not needed. Can we just have them mutually respect one another? do they have to be fucking? And do there have to be some weird emotional tangle? Can we not have that? Can we just have him be an asshole, please?
I'm gonna give it a 4 as well, and I'm gonna give it a 4 because one that sex scene was way too long. It went from the point of like, okay, cool, the characters that you want to hook up are hooking up, to, did this just turn into a porn? I'm here. This is way too long, guys.
Oh my god, you could see almost everything, and it was uncomfortable.
It literally went from like, yay, the characters I want to like be together and get. Okay.
Too much.
What? Okay, guys, stop.
You know the part in a role-playing game where you should have faded to black? That happened like 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, no, it was a little wild. Also, I'm taking away that star because of the heavy use of like writing tropes in this episode of the.
Yeah.
There's just too many that I'm like, okay, it's not forgivable, guys.
Yeah, like the like I need them to explain why the Ghost Walker is the way he is. I need something there. This they just dropped to him like this. Like, yeah, we're not going to get everything about him straight away because he is a Ghost Walker. That's literally his freaking name. But no, please.
Now, normally I would ask you how you would rate the season and if you would recommend it, but I actually think from now on we should wait until the last episode and do that. It just makes sense. I don't know why we were doing it before the other way. I mean, I was the one that started it.
Maybe we should do check-in points. Like, we should do, like, episode 1, whether we would actually recommend, like, hey, this episode 1, I'm going to watch this forever and ever, rather than, like, I have to get through this so far. This is not interesting, but I'm doing it because we're doing a podcast. We should check in at, like, the midpoint and the end points.
Okay, well, this is the midpoint then, because I'm just...
This is the midpoint, yeah. It's a good place to stop checking in.
Yeah, so, let's check in. How would you rate the series?
5.
Would you recommend the series?
Yes.
Cool. Those are my exact same thoughts. 5 and yes.
Like, we have raved so much about this series.
We have. And honestly, it's a really good series, but I also think part of it is that we came off of Lost in Space, which was terrible.
Yeah, that was unreal. But we've had 2 weeks off for various reasons. Being away and like our dogs being like unwell and stuff. Like, we've had some time off from this, so I came back to this a little janky, like, what's going on? Still fucking loved it.
Still really good. I agree.
Still goddamn good.
There were a couple points when I was watching this, and I was like, wait, Wait,
what happened?
Wait, I'm missing the previous thing. And then I had to
Wait,
think a minute and be like, oh, okay, no, I got it.
Yeah, no, like I think it got like 15 minutes through. I'm like, now I remember what was going on. Where before I'm like, why did I get here? What's going on? Who's this? What's their name? Oh, that's their name.
Yeah,
Subtitles for the win, man.
Subtitles are great.
Yes.
So
all right, I guess that's us then.
yeah, it's us. So you want to
That's
do
it.
our
We're done.
closing things?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
You
Oh
start.
wait, do I go first?
You always
I
go
start,
first.
yeah. Hi, I'm Blonda. You can find me on Twitter at blood_BTP. You can find me every Monday releasing the Lucky Die podcast. Yes, nailed it this week. Where we have something very cool happening this week. And I think that might be it this week. I have a very full schedule for the next couple of weeks, and it's insane and nuts and crazy. Oh, yes, this Saturday coming, we should be on this channel playing a very special game of Stargate with a bunch of people from the Spark Network and a bunch of people from Twitter.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Which would be fucking rad and awesome. And yeah, keep an eye on the Twitters for that because it's going to be fun and crazy.
Behind the scenes, everyone. I'm pretty sure no one playing this game really understands the rules. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I didn't know that it was based on 3.5 and I thought it was based on 5.
It's not just based on 3.5. It's based on 3.5 Spycraft.
Oh boy, that means nothing to me. Yeah, so yeah, we have no real idea.
Splat book that it's based on. It's a splat book based on a splat book.
It's a fucking mess, but it's great. I know the DM and he is amazing. I love him to bits. He's so good. It's going to be good. Check in, yo.
Definitely come check that out.
I think that's probably it. Apart from just to re-say that, yeah, this is going to be our new permanent time slot.
Yes.
That's pretty much it. Oh, and also I need to shout out the other thing I'm on. I'm on the White Vault, which started last week.
Oh yeah.
There should be a new episode out for patrons this week, and episode 2 will be out the week after. Please go listen to the White Vault because it's amazing. Okay, I'm done.
Awesome.
What are you, Drew?
I'm Drew Tillman. You can find me on Twitter at NotThatDrew or on the podcast Taking Initiative, which comes out every other Monday. So not tomorrow, but the week after is the next episode. I was streaming a lot more, but that's going to take a backseat while I get adjusted to my new schedule at work.
Yeah.
Eventually, I will be back with a little bit. It'll probably be a diminished schedule, though. Let me think. I think that's all right now that I have to plug, except for I am going to go ahead and announce it. We don't have particulars yet, but we're definitely going to be taking a break on the last week of this month from Altered Carbon to do a Halloween movie. Yes.
An unknown Halloween movie.
Don't know what it is yet. I have some stupid ideas I want to go over with Londa, so we'll tweet out the details. Don't worry. You will know what's going to happen. But yeah, that's going to happen the last week of this month. Yes. And I'm looking forward to it. I think that's all I have for this week.
All right. I think we're done then. Thank you everyone who's listened in. Thank you everyone who's listening on the podcast. And I guess we will see you next week for episode 6.
Oh, have a good night, everyone. Bye.